Hey everyone, CW Music Reviews here. I'm CWD and this is going to be a music review of the new self-titled Dirty Projectors album. This is the latest album of seminal, relatively influential and long-running indie rock band, the Dirty Projectors. These guys have been around for a while, put out numerous albums that have been pretty well received in the 2000s era. A good chunk of which I haven't had a chance to listen to very often. Although, Bitte Orca, if you have not listened to that, listen to it. It's really good. So sans the release they put out in 2012, Dirty Projectors have pretty much been relatively inactive as of the past 5 years. Angel Durian left the band not too long ago to pursue a solo career, which has been pretty fruitful given the fact that she put out a debut album that was really good, and that she's done collaborations with Flying Lotus as well as Boots. Frontman Dave Longstreth, he's been pretty relatively busy as well, with collaborating with Solange and I believe Joanna Newsom and a few other people. He's been around and has definitely added his own mark to these individual projects of the past few years or so. So fast forward to now, we have this new Dirty Projectors album, and given the fact that I wasn't that familiar with Dirty Projectors before, given the fact that Dirty Projectors wasn't and still in a sense isn't a band that I gravitate towards like I'm close to Jupiter or something, I saw this album as an opportunity to finally get on board with what it is Dirty Projectors have done and are doing and continue to do. So I gave this thing a few tries. I gave this thing numerous tries. What do I think of this thing? I like this thing quite a bit. I do feel like that certain aspects of the album could have been left out so I could like it a lot more. But as it is, this is definitely one of my favorite albums of February. This album's about 9 tracks in length, about 48 or so minutes long. Some versions have a bonus track that's pretty much just Little Bubble, just like a shorter and edited version of that. But pretty much you're getting a 9-track album, you're getting an album that's about 48 minutes in length. And what the Dirty Projectors are pretty much delivering upon the listener is probably one of the most vibrant and relatively indulgent breakup albums that's been released in a long time. You pretty much get an idea of what the album is going to be like when we get to the track Keep Your Name, where pretty much the opening line is, "Why did you abandon me?" In which case the track seems to highlight how they're going to go their separate ways and this other person can keep her name, in that they don't get married or they split up. She retains her legal name or something of that nature. And this track in particular starts out on a kind of somber and pretty melancholy note. The one thing that is the most noteworthy about this track, however, is the fact that Dave's vocals are down-pitched throughout a good chunk of the track, and it's kinda off-kilter still to me, and I'm not 100% sure if I like it or not, but it's tolerable at least. So to get straight to it, the one consistent thing that I do not like or have my issues with on this album are the vocal effects. Now, I do like the multi-layering of vocals, namely moments like, say, Death Spiral or Up in Hudson, or Cool Your Heart, moments of Ascent Through Clouds, albeit that track is using auto-tune so much to the point where it's grating. It pretty much results in it being my least favorite track on the whole album, and pretty much the only track that, to a large extent, I do not like. The moments that do use auto-tune are pretty hit or miss for me. Like I said, Ascent Through Clouds, not really a track that I care about, considering the fact that it sounds like some kind of experiment Justin Vernon and James Murphy did, and it failed. So moments like that I would definitely would have left out, but still, even then, these are still tracks that I dig. What has me pretty much intrigued and kind of flabbergasted about this album is the fact that, yes, this is a breakup album, but it's not like, say, Sea Change by Beck, where it's like slow and pretty introspective and melancholic all throughout the course of the album. Or like, say, Bjork's Volnakura, where you're getting a narrative that is pretty much heart-wrenching all throughout. Or arguably my favorite album of last year, Radiohead's Moonshaped Pool, where you're getting all these like split up and kind of logically organized thoughts that arise from this sort of thing, and it's pretty much melancholic in nature throughout. Here, it's vibrant as fuck. Now, it's not happy. There's not really anything happy about this album, apart from maybe the realizations that come up that really does signify that the frontman is moving on from this. Like, say, Cool Your Heart, or I See You. What I dig about this is how kind of unrelenting a good chunk of these instrumentals are. Take the track Death Spiral, for example. I love this groove that's on this track with the whole off-kilter synth that comes up here. It definitely has like a nice danceable vibe to it, along with Work Together, which has like these jagged little vocal snippets all over the course of the track that I dig a lot. And it's so upbeat as hell, man. Another track that's pretty upbeat in that regard is Cool Your Heart, which it sounds like some kind of soulful, tropical music that has a nice percussion bridge that really builds particularly well. It's like if the native Caribbean people had founded dubstep without any electronic instrumentation. At least that moment is, anyway. Winner Take Nothing is pretty much in the same vein as well, except maybe a little slower. But this album isn't all danceable tracks all the time. It also has its more low-key and kind of torch song-ish moments, or at least as much as these warped instrumentals will allow it to be a torch song. Take a track like Up in Hudson, pretty piano-driven for the most part, and the hook pretty much features these really jarring, but not so jarring that it's a turn-off, pieces of brass that come up. Or a track like Little Bubble, which not really a favorite of mine, but not really a track I dislike either. It's pretty much like a really slow and pretty melancholic atmosphere with like all this string-heavy stuff going on. There's these beautiful piano chords as well. I would say that this is the only conventional-ish track on the whole record. But I think my favorite of these, and pretty much my favorite track on the entire record, would have to be I See You. God, this track is beautiful. I love the organ that is on this track here. Especially the way it just like creates a climactic atmosphere that this is the closing track. This is how it all ties together. I also like the little, I guess, backmasked-ish guitar solo that's on the bridge or the middle of the track here. Oh man, what they have pretty much conceived here is a really fascinating experimental rock record. This thing without a doubt is of an animal of its own, and there's very few albums you could describe that is similar in this vein. Maybe some Vampire Weekend moments. I could definitely tell that Sampa got some influence from either this album or Dirty Projectors albums from the past on his album Process that he dropped a few weeks ago. Say what you will about, say, maybe some vocal moments, maybe some lyrical moments here. There is no rock band that is doing stuff this warped, this particularly intricate as of right now. Now, in terms of vocals, when there's not any vocal effects, he definitely proves himself to be a really capable singer, especially given how consistent and how on pitch and on key his falsetto is on a good chunk of the album. Even if with the track Keep Your Name, he down pitches that for some reason and it sounds weird. Or tracks like Ascent Through Clouds where he uses autotune for no particular reason whatsoever. I also want to note that one of the reasons I don't really care for Ascent Through Clouds is because of this really annoying, chopped up, high-pitched guitar pattern that's pretty much sampled all throughout the latter half of the track. It's just so annoying and really grating to me. But other than that, yeah, I dig this thing quite a bit. Apart from, say, the vocal effects, maybe apart from a couple of the instrumentals that don't really engage me all that much, this thing is pretty potent, and I will say that this is more than just a self-titled record. The name Dirty Projectors, when you get to the closing track, I See You, it definitely brings a lot more meaning to what their name is, especially when you get to the line on the track. Now it's getting late, it's time to say that the projection is fading away, and in its place I see you. Oh man, this guy was pretty heartbroken, but not so overtly so that it's like, you know, you have to feel this certain way. I guess one negative that people can take out of it is that, yeah, it's a breakup album, but why am I not feeling like completely downtrodden from track 1 to track 9? This isn't that kind of breakup album. It really does sound like that Dave is accepting of this breakup at this point, and now that this has happened, he can use this love, this past love, as kind of a format for his art, and it goes off particularly well, even if I don't care for some of the moments here and there. I'm definitely going to be looking forward to what Dirty Projectors are going to come up with next, as well as most likely dig further into the catalog of one of the most intriguing forces in indie rock and experimental rock music post-2000s era. This album is a plus 2.3 out of plus 3. Yeah, I definitely dug this thing quite a bit. If you're into experimental rock, indie rock, if you like bands like Arcade Fire, Vampire Weekend, maybe some Radiohead or Primal Scream, you're definitely going to want to check this out. There will definitely be something in it for you. But if you've given this album a listen, what'd you think of it? Did you like this album? Did you dislike this album? What was your reasoning for that? And what you consider listening to and reviewing next? This is CW Music Reviews here, signing off.